Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Hope you're having a great day. And with no further ado, let's get into the weekly recap for week number 8. Starting off back on Thursday, Vikings at the Chargers. This was a blowout of blowouts. The Chargers, you lose 3 of 4 after that 3-0 start. Injuries starting to pile up. You're thinking, are the Chargers Are the Chargers really that great of a team, or were they just benefiting from an easy schedule? But they get this win. They're 5-3. They stay alive in a really competitive AFC West. And it was just a beatdown. Justin Herbert looked amazing. This running game, I don't really think they need to make a trade for a running back. This defense was great. This offense starting to get better now that Joe Alt's back. Um, so give credit to the Chargers for a win, and they move on to the Vikings. This team just is not very good. And I know you're gonna say, "Oh, what if McCarthy was playing?" But I don't really believe McCarthy would be any better. He is going to play this week, so we'll see. But I really do think Minnesota made the wrong decision on which quarterback they chose this offseason. Carson Wentz, it was reported um, yesterday, I want to say, that he's gonna have season-ending shoulder surgery, so he'll be out the year. He was in the game a lot longer than he should have been. Like, he was playing horribly, and then he was getting banged up. I don't know why Kevin O'Connell let him in for that long, but Minnesota is going to be a tough year, and at 3-4 with how good the rest of their division looks, I'm sorry, but it might just be kind of like 2023 where they just didn't have great QB play and it led to them missing the playoffs. Moving on to the 1 o'clock games. Sorry for that. Dolphins at the Falcons. Miami 1-6. You're thinking, hey, this team is not going to be good, but a huge upset win on the road. The Dolphins looked impressive. Tua, give credit to him, 4 touchdowns. He looked amazing. This offense really was clicking the gears. The defense was making plays, which, like, the offense had been playing better. It's just the defense was horrible. So the defense making plays, not saying Miami's going to be any better, but they'll be a fun team to watch as the season goes along. Um, a huge win for them to be 2-6, and hey, if you're a Dolphins fan, you just got to be happy that your team finally played well, and you can at least see some glimmer of hope post the year. For Atlanta, where do I start? They were 3-2 just 2 weeks ago, coming off a huge win against the Bills. It felt like, hey, this Atlanta team finally can get things going. You lost last week to a banged up Niners team. Um, within this week against a struggling Dolphins team that had the worst rushing defense that clearly was not very good, and Atlanta just couldn't do anything. I get Michael Penix and Drake London were out, but still, Kirk Cousins knows this offense. This Atlanta defense was getting carved up by Tua and this offense that it really shouldn't have. Like, Atlanta's now 3-4. They have the Patriots and Colts the next 2 weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if they're 3-6. And this is an Atlanta team that a couple of weeks ago people would have said it could be a playoff team, and now they're looking like they maybe are just once again going to miss the playoffs because they continue to make these bad decisions in games, and it just is hurting them. Moving on, Bears at the Ravens. The Ravens off their bye. Huge win. Got to give credit to this team. Even without Lamar, everybody else was healthy and out there, and they played amazingly. This offense was clicking like it had it in a while. I mean, the best Ravens offensive game before this was probably that Lions game. So it was good to see this offense finally get back into gear. The defense making plays. If this defense plays like it has the past two games, the Ravens are a serious threat with how easy their schedule is. And I mean, don't look back. I mean, don't look. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but the Ravens can be coming for that North round with how easy this North is right now. Like most people in prior years would have said the North is probably one of the best divisions. So far, it has not been. And despite being 2-5, the Ravens have an opportunity to win this with just how bad the other teams are. For the Bears, I mean, this was an opportunity to be 5-2, tied with the Lions, who are on the bye, and they could have seriously looked like a true maybe contender. But I don't think they're there. I think this team um will still, be competitive, maybe make the playoffs. Um, in an NFC that is really wide open for anybody to make it. Um, but it was just, the offense was very inconsistent and the defense just wasn't making the plays they had in the past couple of weeks when they were getting these wins. But, you know, hopefully they can bounce back and they have the Bengals next week, so maybe they can be 5-3 and still very competitive. Moving on to the Bills at the Panthers and Buffalo off the bye, just like the Ravens. An impressive win by Buffalo. I mean, James Cook, amazing. Josh Allen didn't really have to do much. This defense making plays against the bad Panthers. I mean, Buffalo 5-2. They have the Chiefs this upcoming week at home. We'll see how that game goes, but it's good to see the Bills get back to form and looking like the true contenders we know they are. For Carolina, I mean, this was a letdown game. I mean, I thought 3-game winning streak, at home against the Bills team that off the bye, still looking at the great. I thought this could be a competitive loss where it was like 30-23 or 33-26, where it's like the Panthers kept it close. They just weren't able to win it. But Andy Dalton, is he just this bad? Like, are the Panthers just that much better with Bryce Young or what? Because this team could not do anything. The defense, which was making plays on this 3-game winning streak, couldn't do a thing, and the offense was horrendous. 4-4. They have the Packers next week, which most likely will be a loss. But this was a Panthers. Like, this is another game where it's like, you think the Panthers are finally going to take the right steps to look like at least a formidable team, and they just go out there and look horrible. Moving on, Jets at the Bengals. I mean, shout out to the Jets. Prior to the game, it was announced that Nick Mangold had died, so it was good for them to get the win. First win of the year, Justin Fields. With all the criticism Woody Johnson had said about him, it was good to see this offense play amazingly. Apparently, it was the most points they had scored since 2022, which is crazy. But give credit to Fields, Brees Hall, and this offense without Garrett Wilson were able to make plays. Um, and their first win of the year, they're not going to be winless, 1-7, and they have a couple games upcoming where they could win those games and at least finish out the year respectable. For the Bengals, I mean, this is a disappointing loss. You come off the huge win against the Steelers. You have some winnable games coming up at home. And you just, once again, blow it at the end. This defense, still one of the worst units in football. And, they have the Bears next week. If they lose that one and they're 3-6, it might just be time to tell Burrow to just rest the rest of the year because this Bengals team is not going to compete for anything with how bad this defense is. And maybe the owner finally realizes that they need to move on from Zach Taylor and they need to really bring in a coach that's going to improve this team and not hold them back. Moving on, Niners at the Texans. I mean, give credit to Houston. After last week where they looked horrible on offense against a really talented Seattle defense. I mean, there was a reason Houston was favored in this game, and they proved it. CJ Stroud had one of his best games in a while. I mean, he looked efficient. The rookies, Noel, Higgins, and Woody Marks looked impressive. Xavier Hutchinson stepped up without Nico. Um, and this Houston team, 3-4, they have some tough games coming up. But if they string, some wins together, they could be a formidable team um, with the Jags struggling. Um, they're obviously not going to get to the Colts, but I think they could maybe make the wild card if this offense continues to get into form. For San Fran, I mean, the injuries I know are piling up, but this team is very consistent week to week. Like one week they look like, despite all the injuries, they could be a team that fights for the West. Other games, they look like the injuries are just holding them back. Christian McCaffrey didn't get many touches, which I didn't really understand, but they're 5-3. Um, they're not, their season isn't over with, but the Niners, very, very inconsistent. I know the injuries are piling up, but I don't think Brock Purdy would have saved this team, and made it look better. Like, I think the Niners really are just not going to be that formidable of a team, and it's just sad because if this team was healthier and with better QB play, they could be a truly top tier NFC contender. Moving on, Browns at the Patriots. Early on in this game, it looked like it was going to be a close one. New England could not get anything going, just 9 points in the first half. You're thinking, geez, is New England going to just not play well? But this offense clicked into high gear in the second half. Looked amazing. Drake May putting up amazing performances. 6-2. They've won 5 straight. Since that bad Steelers loss earlier in the year, and they look like a real contender with how well this offense is played, with how well this defense is played. They could be a formidable foe. We'll just have to see as the season goes along. Because remember, a couple of years ago, the team was playing well, but then as the season went along, they started to lose games down the stretch, and then they got destroyed by the Bills. So I don't want to give that much credit to the Pats until like they prove a season long that like they're really good. But this team looks fantastic. The Browns, I mean, Myles Garrett literally tried to do everything. He had 5 sacks, which is a Browns record. But it's just frustrating. This team, not very good. Dylan Gabriel, I think the experiment's over. Like he's had two, all right games and 2 really bad games since becoming the starter. Honestly, I think they should put Shador in. Like, at least let him go out there and play. Like, because like Shador has the talent to be a starting level quarterback. So I just think Cleveland should at least give him a shot. They're 2-6. They don't really have anything to play for, so I feel like Cleveland at least should consider benching Gabriel, bringing in Shador as a starter, and at least seeing if he can play well. Moving on, Eagles at the Giants. I mean, give credit to Philly. After those back-to-back losses, it felt like this team just was not going to be as good as they have been. But these past 2 weeks have they looked really good. More so this week because the offense looked finally like they were in sync, and maybe that was because AJ Brown was out. But Saquon looked back to his 2024 form. Jalen Hurts was efficient with the ball, and this defense once again was making plays, and you know, the Eagles 6-2. look much better than they had the previous um 7 games, and they head on the bye at 6-2 with a comfortable lead in the NFC East. Looking like they're gonna cruise to winning it. For the Giants, I mean, sad news about Cam Scatterbo. Hope his recovery is great. I mean, him and Malik Neighbors, I mean, it's like the Giants fans can't have anything nice. Like, yeah, these young promising players, and then they go down with season-ending injuries. Um, Jackson Dart, still looking very good, promising, and that's what you hope. Putting in Dart, he's looked promising. Um, they're 2-6. Obviously, not going to have the greatest year, but hey, I mean, the Giants, I think, are going to be a competitive team. Going to be a formidable team as the season goes along, and hopefully Dart can continue to play the way he has, and this team can hopefully build for the future and in the coming years, hopefully get back to competing in the NFC East. Moving on to the 4 o'clock window, Bucks at Saints, Tampa. This was just domination. Baker didn't have the greatest game, and this was the defense, making up for it. 4 turnovers forced, um, which is more than the Saints. The Saints had 4 turnovers and 3 points. That is crazy to say, but give credit to Tampa Bay. This team is for real. They're 6-2. Last week injuries, um, guys coming back from injuries, and then Mike Evans obviously going to miss the year most likely. Um, this is a good get back spot. They're 6-2. The NFC South seems like it is theirs to win, unless like Carolina or Atlanta somehow surprises in the second half. But the Bucks, unlike other years under Todd Bowles, it seems like this Bucks team is getting off to a much better start, which is a good thing because they could seriously compete in a wide open NFC. I feel like they could truly get that top seed. For the Saints, I mean, we know it wasn't gonna a bad year, but at least in those, at least in like the first like 4 or 5 games of the year, the team was at least competitive. Where it's like, hey, this team might not win those games. They're going to keep it close, but it just hasn't looked good. Spencer Rattler got benched, which I'm sad to um, say because he was my favorite prospect on the 2024 draft. So, but it's at least good to see the Saints giving Tyler Shuck an opportunity with how bad Rattler looked um, through 3 quarters. So you invested a high pick in Shuck, so it's at least good to see them at least putting him out there, and he should be the rest of the year starter. See what you have him in these 9 games, and maybe he can be something. Moving on, Broncos and the Cowboys. I mean, Denver finally got this offense going. I mean, they've been very inconsistent week to week. Finally got it going. Bo Nix looked amazing. Um, was sad to hear Pat Surtain's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks, so that'll be tough on the Broncos defense. But give credit to Sean Payton and this Broncos offense for playing well. It wasn't against a bad Cowboys defense, which has been horrible for the most part. Um, but it's good to see this Denver offense finally playing 4 full quarters and not like the past 2 games where they waited until the fourth to finally make some plays. They're 6-2, first place in the AFC West. Got the Texans next week, and then I know they have the Chiefs in a couple of weeks, so we'll see how for real this Denver team is. Once they start to play really good teams, and if they continue to get these wins, they are for real going to be a threat to not just win the AFC West, but maybe the AFC as a whole. For Dallas, I mean, this was the type of games I figured, when the defense is not stopping the offense of the other team and the offense isn't getting, points on every single drive, it's kind of hard for Dallas to win these games. Dak had his worst game against a really good Broncos defense, but these were the type of games I thought Dallas's um, year was going to be. The offense isn't going to get points on every drive, but the defense is going to let them down. And funny how the Cowboys are now looking to trade for an edge rusher like Max Crosby or Trey Hendrickson when just a couple months ago they had a guy named Micah Parsons who is really good at rushing the quarterback. Moving on, Titans at the Colts. Indy, I mean, they might be the best team in the league. 7-1. They look unstoppable. I'd say Jonathan Taylor right now should be the MVP. Like with how well he's played, Shane Steichen maybe coach of the year. Um, like the Colts look for real. Like I know, like last week when they beat the Chargers, I was like, this team is for real. But I mean, they look unstoppable. They do have the Chiefs. Um, and I forget who else, but I know they played two really good teams. Um, in a couple weeks, so we'll see how for real Indy is. Once they play more contenders, but JT, I feel like should at least be considered for the MVP with how well he's looked. Like I saw somewhere he's on pace for like 30 touchdowns and like 22 all-purpose yards, only 200 all-purpose yards, which is crazy to say for um a running back, but he should be considered this defense complete turnaround from Lou Anarumo, and they're 7-1 for a reason. For the Titans, I mean, it's a disappointing year, and you just like to see those young rookies on offense making plays. Cam Ward, Iomanner, Chimere DK, Gunnar Helm, even Tajay Spears and Shiga Kankwo, who, you know, are some of the younger guys on the offense. You just like to see those guys hopefully improve as the year goes along, and it's going to be a tough year, but hopefully they make the right coaching decision in the offseason to give Cam Ward and this Titans team a fighting chance to get back to those contention days that they had under Mike Vrabel. Went on Sunday Night Football, Packers at the Steelers. I mean, Green Bay, first half didn't look the greatest, but second half really put their foot on the gas pedal and accelerated through. I mean, this defense, one of the best in the league for a reason. I mean, they look unstoppable, and this is the type of Packers team that after the first 2 weeks, I thought I was going to see consistently. Hopefully, they can get back to this type of performance as the season goes along. There's a reason why they're the only one loss team in the NFC, and it's because of how good they are. I know they tied, but um, Jordan Love looked amazing. This offense, Christian Watson coming back really helped them out. This defense, obviously incredible. And the Packers, I mean, are a real threat with how well they're playing. For the Steelers, I mean, I told you guys, everybody was hyping them up after that 4-1 start, saying, hey, this Steelers team is for real. Back-to-back losses to the Bengals and Packers, and then they play, I think, the Colts and Chargers in the next 2 weeks. I mean, the Steelers just are not very good. Like, they get off to good starts, and everybody says, hey, this team is going to be really good, and then they fall apart when they play good teams. I mean, this defense, which is supposed to be Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, rock hard, solid defense, just is not playing well. And then this offense just is not consistently going to put up 30 plus points a game. Like, they just aren't. Like, the only times they've put up 30 plus points in a game. I'm pretty sure we're week one against the Jets and last week against the Bengals, and both those teams are not very good, and their defenses obviously aren't very great either. But like every other game, they scored less than 30 points, and it shows that if you can shut down the Steelers' offense, make them one dimensional, they can't do anything. And it's funny how we talk about the Cowboys looking for an edge rusher. Steelers are looking for a wide receiver too. When just a couple months ago they had a guy named George Pickens who's balling out this year who they could have used. So it's funny to see these teams who traded away these guys because they didn't want to pay them, and now they're now looking to trade for a guy at that same position. Isn't that funny? And then finally, Monday Night Football, Chiefs hosting the Commanders. I mean, KC looks for real. They've won four straight, 5 of 6 since that 0-2 start. I mean, this team is great. I mean, we all know this, but they are a great team for a reason. They play well, and this offense did not start the greatest, but second half controlled the game and looked efficient. And this defense, I mean, really makes plays whenever they need to. And they got the Bills upcoming, then a bye, and then they take on the Broncos, Colts. So they've got a big time stretch, but they can win all three of those games, or at least two of those games. They are once again going to be a threat to obviously win the AFC and win the Super Bowl. Washington, I mean, this team just is not great. I know they've had injuries to Daniels, McLaurin, Debo, Austin Eckler, the defense. But even if Jaden Daniels had been healthy the entire year, even if McLaurin and Debo had been healthy, like this team just clearly did not help. Like they clearly their biggest flaws, they just never tried to improve it. Like they kind of traded for a bunch of guys, giving up draft capital, like Tunsil, Debo, thinking, hey, if we surround Daniels with a lot of these great um, veterans, we can do something. And it just hasn't really worked out. And like I get they're injured, but I mean you see teams all across the NFL that are brutally injured and they're still winning games. Like even if Jaden Daniels had played all 8 games, I don't really think Washington record changes that much. Maybe they win one more game, but like this team is not going to be as good as they were last year. And I think it comes down on the front office investing a lot in these veteran guys, saying we should put a bunch of veterans around Jaden Daniels, hoping it will work out. And when it hasn't so far, I feel like, and they don't have many picks, and they didn't really address their biggest issues, which were edge rusher and corner. And they have less draft capital this offseason or deadline to go out and get somebody. It's just Washington just is not as good as they were last year. And I think it does come down on the front office for making the wrong decisions on who to bring into the team. But that'll do it for me today. Hope you guys have a great day. Hope you guys subscribe. Hit the like button, hit the notification bell to get notified for every video I make. And I'll see you guys on Thursday for my weekly picks. But until then, bye.